I took care of my brother's kids for 5 years after his wife left. I skipped promotions, spent my savings, and missed my own life. Yesterday, I came home to their packed bags and a rental car. "We're moving to Florida. You're not family," he said without looking at me. My niece cried, but he pulled her away. I watched them drive off without a word. This morning, I made a call I never thought I would. I'm 42 now. Single. No kids of my own. I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment in the south end of St. Louis. I used to work in IT full-time for a freight company, nothing glamorous, just stable. I had my life kind of figured out. I wasn't rich, but I was saving. I had friends. I dated sometimes. I had my peace. That ended 5 years ago. It was a Wednesday night. I remember because I was supposed to go out with a guy named Craig, some accountant I met at a trivia night. I was just getting ready when I heard banging on my front door. Not knocking, banging. Like something bad had happened. It was my brother, Ray. Standing there soaking wet from the rain, holding Maya and Levi's hands. They looked scared out of their minds. Maya was 7. She already had that look kids get when they've seen too much. Levi was still a baby, barely 3. His pull-up was soaked, and he kept holding this raggedest stuffed dinosaur. I asked Ray what happened, and he just broke. Said Teresa left them. Left a note on the fridge that just said, "I can't do this anymore." He begged me to let them stay, just for a while. He was crying, shaking, saying he didn't know what to do. I had no idea what I was doing either. But they were kids. My niece and nephew. I said yes. That night I gave them my bed, and I slept on the couch. I figured it'd be a week. 2 max. Ray got a new job a month later, working nights at some parts warehouse. Said he was saving up for his own place. But it wasn't long before I realized I was doing everything. He worked late, then started staying out more. I'd be up until 2 a.m. wondering if he was okay. He never texted back. Sometimes he'd come in reeking of beer. Other times not at all. Meanwhile, I was the one packing their lunches. Taking them to doctor's appointments. Showing up to parent-teacher nights. I sat with Maya when she cried after school because some kid made fun of her clothes. I held Levi through 2 ear infections and a stomach flu that lasted 4 days. Ray was barely around. I thought maybe he was depressed. I gave him space. I didn't push. I figured he needed time. I figured wrong. After the first year, I realized I'd become their parent in everything but name. I kept my job, but I stopped moving forward. I turned down a big promotion because it meant I'd have to travel a few times a month. There was no one else to watch the kids. I drained my savings to buy a used Honda Pilot, so I could get both car seats in and still pick up groceries. I didn't take a real vacation in 5 years. I stopped dating. I stopped going out. All my money went to rent, food, clothes, school stuff. Birthdays. Christmas. You know, life. Ray? He was seeing someone. I didn't even know until Maya mentioned a woman named Danielle. Said she gave her candy and told her to call her mama someday. When I asked Ray about it, he laughed. Said I was overreacting. Said I needed to chill. But I knew something was shifting. He started acting weird. Short with me. Secretive. Like I was just in the way. Then came yesterday. I got off work early because our office was doing a system upgrade. I was looking forward to surprising the kids with takeout and a movie night. I stopped to pick up Panda Express, their favorite. When I got home, the door was unlocked. I walked in and stopped cold. 3 bags by the door. Their backpacks. A rental car key on the counter. Ray was sitting on the couch, scrolling his phone like nothing was happening. I asked, "What's going on?" He didn't look up. Just said, "We're moving. To Florida. Teresa's down there. She wants to try again." I couldn't even process the words. He said it so casually. So cold. I asked what he meant. I said, "What about school? What about me? What about the last 5 years?" He shrugged. "You're not their mom. You're not even family, not really. You helped out. It's over now." Then Maya came out of the bedroom crying. She ran to me and grabbed onto my waist. She begged me, "Please don't let him take us. Please." And what did Ray do? He grabbed her arm. Yanked her off me. Told her to stop being dramatic. I stood there frozen. Watching the man I thought was my brother drive off with the 2 kids I practically raised, like I was just the sitter who overstayed her shift. He didn't even say goodbye. I didn't sleep last night. I didn't eat. I sat on the couch staring at the spot where their backpacks used to be. I thought about all the birthdays. The homework. The nights Levi couldn't sleep and I stayed up rubbing his back until he did. I thought about how Ray looked right through me. Like I never mattered. Like I was disposable. And then I remembered something. 2 years ago, Ray had filled out this online emergency form for Maya's school. He listed me as the emergency guardian. In case of anything. He wrote it down. Signed it. I also had texts from him, lots of them, where he thanked me for doing more for them than their mother ever did. I saved those. That's when I picked up the phone. This morning, I called family services. I told them everything. How Ray left them with me for 5 years. How he barely showed up. How he pulled them out of school and left the state without giving notice to anyone. How he took them to Florida to reunite with a woman who abandoned them. The woman on the phone didn't say much at first. She just asked for evidence. I sent it all. The school forms. The doctor bills with my name on them. The texts. I even had videos, one of Maya's 10th birthday party, where she gave a little speech thanking me for being her real mom. She called me back 4 hours later. The kids were in custody. They pulled them out of a trailer in Orlando. Teresa was drunk and screaming at the caseworkers. Ray wasn't even there. Maya was crying and asking for me. I'm flying down tomorrow. I have to appear in court to start the process of becoming their legal guardian. Ray's called me 5 times today. Left 2 voicemails. First one was yelling, swearing. Second one was him crying. Saying he messed up. That Teresa doesn't want the kids. That he was just desperate. That he didn't mean what he said. I haven't called him back. I don't know what's going to happen yet. But I know one thing, Ray took 5 years of my life, used me, then tossed me like trash. Now I have the paperwork. I have the truth. And I have those kids calling me home. He tried to make me invisible. Instead, he made me undeniable. The plane to Orlando was half empty. I sat by the window, clutching a folder filled with documents, proof of school pickups, medical records, Ray's texts, even printouts of emails from Maya's school thanking me for volunteering. I hadn't flown in years. I barely noticed we took off. I landed, got my rental car, and drove straight to the child services office. It was a beige building in a strip mall with a broken vending machine in the lobby. Nothing like what I imagined. A young woman named Rachel met me at the front desk. She had kind eyes and a serious face. They keep asking for you, she said. Especially Maya. That broke something in me. She led me to a small room with toys and some coloring books. When Maya saw me, she ran so fast she nearly tripped. She threw herself into my arms and started sobbing. Levi was slower, more unsure, but when he got close, he hugged my leg and wouldn't let go. We didn't say much. I just held them. Later that day, I sat down with their caseworker and the court-appointed guardian ad litem. They asked about everything. My job, my apartment, my finances, how long the kids had lived with me. I answered all of it. Truthfully. Calmly. Like I'd rehearsed it in my head 1,000 times. Then they told me something I didn't expect. Ray had filed paperwork, yesterday, claiming I was mentally unstable. That I'd tried to turn the kids against him. That I was obsessed. He said you refused to let him parent, the guardian said, flipping through the file. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was pathetic. He ever mentioned the 5 years he left them with me while he bounced from job to job and bar to bar? She gave me a long look. That's what we're trying to figure out. 2 days later, we were all in court. Ray showed up. Wore a cheap suit he clearly borrowed. Sat with Teresa, who looked like she was 1 Xanax away from passing out. They didn't look at me once. The judge read through everything. He asked Ray questions he couldn't answer, like where the kids went to school last year, who their pediatrician was, who signed their field trip slips. Ray stammered. Teresa just kept looking at her nails. Then the judge asked Maya if she wanted to speak. She stood up, holding that same stuffed dinosaur she's had since she was 3. Her voice shook. She looked right at the judge and said, I want to live with my Aunt Ellie. She's the only one who never left. That was the moment everything shifted. But it didn't end there. A week later, I was granted temporary guardianship. It wasn't permanent yet, but I could bring the kids home to Missouri. Ray had 30 days to contest it. And he did. He filed an appeal. Claimed I manipulated Maya. That I only wanted them for the child support money. I nearly laughed when I read that. I'd never received a dime. The worst part? He got a lawyer. Not a good one, but still, someone sleazy enough to dig. That's when I found out he was trying to file for full custody. And here's the twist, he told the court that I had a history of unstable behavior. That I once locked him out of the house for days, and refused to let him see his children. All lies. But lies in court still mean paperwork and hearings and stress. I had to dig up everything. Emails. Calendar invites from Maya's school. Messages from his old coworkers. One even sent me a screenshot of Ray bragging that he had it made: free babysitter, free house, free food. I gave it all to my lawyer. Meanwhile, the kids were back home with me. But they weren't the same. Levi started wetting the bed again. Maya wouldn't sleep without the hallway light on. She jumped every time someone knocked on the door. I signed them both up for counseling. One night, I heard her whispering to Levi through the wall. She said, "Don't worry, she won't leave us. She's not like them." I sat in the hallway and cried. Ray kept pushing. He showed up at my door once, unannounced. Demanded to see his kids. I told him to leave. He tried to push past me, and I slammed the door on his foot. Called the cops. Filed a restraining order. He violated it 2 weeks later. Sent Maya a text telling her I was going to steal her away forever. That's when things really shifted in court. The judge reviewed the order violation and Ray's history, his unemployment, his inconsistent living arrangements, Teresa's history of substance abuse. The guardian ad litem recommended against returning the kids. Still, the judge didn't rule that day. He scheduled a final custody hearing. 1 month out. Ray started showing up at Maya's school. Tried to talk to her through the fence during recess. She ran to the principal, crying. That principal called me. Then she called the police. Ray got arrested. Violated the protection order. Again. But I was still scared. Scared the court would still hand him partial custody. That somehow, after everything, he'd still find a way to take them. And then something happened that changed everything. The arrest should have ended it. But it didn't. A week after Ray got booked for violating the order, I got a call from my lawyer that made my stomach drop. "Ellie," she said, "they're requesting an emergency hearing. Ray's lawyer is arguing parental alienation. They say you're poisoning the kids against him." "What?" "They also filed a motion to discredit your guardianship, claiming you financially exploited him." I couldn't even speak. I just stood there, phone in hand, shaking. Turns out, Ray had filed a fake affidavit claiming I had accessed his bank account without permission. That I used his money to raise the kids, while keeping him out of their lives. He even printed a doctored bank statement showing me making withdrawals. He highlighted lines that made it look like I was buying luxury items. It was laughable. But it was also dangerous. In court, lies like that can muddy the waters, especially if a judge isn't paying close attention. So I did what I had to do. I pulled my own records. 5 years of bank statements. Pay stubs. Receipts. Proof that I paid the rent. I bought the food. I paid the doctor bills. Ray hadn't sent one child support payment. Not one. If anything, he owed me. I gave it all to my lawyer. And then I made another call, one I should have made months earlier. Teresa's sister, Angela, lives in Sarasota. I'd met her once at a birthday party before Teresa vanished. She'd reached out once when she heard I had the kids. I ignored her at the time. Didn't want to open that door. But now I needed her. "Ellie?" she said when she picked up. "Is everything okay?" I explained what Ray was trying to do. She didn't sound surprised. Then she told me something I didn't know. Teresa had been in rehab the year after she left. That she relapsed twice. That she was arrested for shoplifting last spring. And that Ray had never planned to move to Florida for the kids. He moved because he thought Teresa's dad had money, and he could get in good with the family again. "Ellie," Angela said, "Ray never wanted custody. He just wanted leverage." I asked if she'd be willing to give a statement. She said yes. Meanwhile, things with Maya and Levi got worse. Levi started having nightmares. He'd scream and cry in his sleep, yelling, "Don't go! Don't leave!" I'd find him curled up in the closet some nights, clutching that damn dinosaur. Maya started lying. Saying everything was fine at school when it wasn't. Her grades dropped. She got into a fight with a girl who said her real mom didn't want her. They were unraveling. And so was I. 2 days before the final hearing, I got a letter in the mail. A cease and desist. From Ray's new lawyer. It accused me of libel, character assassination, and intent to cause emotional harm. It threatened legal action if I continued to pursue defamation in court. I brought it to my lawyer. She read it, snorted, and tossed it in her bag. "Desperate," she said. But then she got real serious. "He's not going to win. But that doesn't mean he won't try to take you down with him. I nodded. I already knew that. Then came the final twist. The night before court, I got an email. From Ray. It was short. No apology. No explanation. Just this. You think they'll love you when they grow up and realize what you took from them? You think they'll choose you over their father? You're just the woman who made them orphans. I stared at the screen for 5 minutes. Then I took a screenshot. Then I hit forward. The courtroom felt colder than usual that morning. Maybe it was just me. I wore a plain black dress. Maya wore jeans and a purple hoodie. Levi clung to my hand the entire walk-in. Ray showed up alone. No Teresa. No kids. His lawyer was there, but you could see it in his face. He knew the case was slipping. He still tried to act like he was in control. Nodded at the judge like they were friends. Sat back like he had nothing to lose. He had no idea what was coming. The hearing started with the usual attendance statements, background. Ray's lawyer jumped in first. Talked about how I had alienated the children. Claimed I refused to let Ray be a father. Said I deliberately kept the children away from their birth parents out of resentment. The judge listened, expressionless. Then nodded to my side. My lawyer stood and calmly laid everything out. She had color-coded binders. She had the receipts, literal ones. Then she dropped the bomb. Your Honor, we have additional testimony from Angela Miller, sister of Teresa Miller, the children's biological mother. The judge raised an eyebrow. Ray's lawyer objected. Too late. Angela appeared on video conference. She didn't hold back. She spoke clearly and calmly, detailing everything: Teresa's drug abuse, her leaving the children, Ray's failed attempt to reconnect, his motives. He said, if I can get custody, Ellie's gonna owe me everything. I didn't understand it at the time, but now I do. You could have heard a pin drop in that courtroom. Then my lawyer read the email Ray had sent me the night before. The one calling me the woman who made them orphans. The judge's jaw visibly tightened. Ray tried to explain, said it was taken out of context. The judge cut him off. Enough. The court took a recess. When we returned, the judge looked tired. But he was clear. I've reviewed all evidence, testimonies, and documents. Mr. Daniels, you have shown a consistent pattern of neglect, manipulation, and abuse of both the children and those who cared for them in your absence. You have repeatedly violated court orders, demonstrated hostility, and shown zero understanding of your responsibilities as a parent. Ray opened his mouth. The judge raised a hand. Don't speak. He turned to me. Ms. Elaine Carter. You have served as these children's de facto parent for the past 5 years. You've provided housing, food, emotional support, and a stable home. You have legal and documented proof of your role. You did it without compensation, without support, and at great personal sacrifice. He took a long pause. It is the court's decision that you be granted full legal custody and permanent guardianship of both Maya and Levi Daniels, effective immediately. Maya started crying. Not little tears. Full sobs. She jumped into my lap and just held on to me. Levi, confused but smiling, said, Are we staying home forever now? Ray sat stone still. Like he'd just been slapped. It wasn't over. The judge added one last note. Furthermore, given Mr. Daniels' actions, his abandonment, his attempt to relocate the children without proper custody, and his false accusations, I am referring this case to the state attorney for review. Possible charges include custodial interference, child endangerment, and perjury. Ray's face went white. His lawyer whispered something to him, but he didn't respond. He just sat there, shaking his head like he couldn't believe it. I could. We left the courtroom. Reporters were there. I kept the kids close and said nothing. My lawyer did the talking. By that evening, Ray's mugshot was online. He'd been arrested on the custodial interference charge. Teresa had disappeared again, warrant out for failure to appear. The same system he tried to use against me had turned on him, and now it was squeezing tight. Back home in St. Louis, things were quiet again. I moved us into a bigger apartment, 2 bedrooms, a small yard, a quiet block. Maya picked out her own comforter. Levi got a bunk bed just because he thought it was fun. I went back to work, part-time at first, then full. My boss gave me a raise. Said he'd kept my spot open, that he knew I was the kind who showed up when it counted. I got therapy. So did the kids. We worked through it, slowly, painfully, honestly. I also took Ray to civil court. For back child support. He tried to claim he was broke. But the court subpoenaed his past tax records. Turned out he'd been making under-the-table money at side gigs, selling used car parts and working odd jobs. They hit him with a court order, $48,200 owed. He'll be paying for the next 15 years. He tried to file for bankruptcy. Didn't work. Child support isn't dischargeable. And when he misses payments, which he does, they garnish his wages, seize his refunds, dock his driver's license. Every time that happens, I smile a little. Not out of hate, but because justice doesn't always come clean. Sometimes it's petty. Sometimes it's overdue. But it comes. It's been a year now. Maya just turned 13. She made me a card that said, "Thanks for not leaving. I love you more than the moon." Levi starts first grade next week. Still sleeps with that dinosaur. As for me, I'm tired. But I'm not bitter. Not anymore. Ray tried to erase me. Tried to convince the world I was nothing. Instead, he exposed everything he was. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd fold. He forgot who raised his kids. And now? He's alone. I'm not.